I am known as Aunt Shirley. To all the rest of you, I am known as Sister Shirley from the forgotten borough of Staten Island. We are all gathered here this evening in the fight to stop police terror and the murder of our people. In May 26, 80 people met at the invitation of Dr. CORNEL WEST and CARL DIX to discuss a proposal for a nationally march against police terror on October 24, 2015 in New York City. This meeting was attended by families of victims murdered by the police, high school and college students, religious leaders, representatives from the number of justice-based organizations and unions, and numerous activists. After wide-ranging discussions, this session called for Saturday, October 24th, to be the date with hundreds of thousands of people covering New York City for the first Rise of October to stop police terror. Right. You're all gathered here this evening. Okay. Please join us in welcoming Mariel Hardy of the Unitarian Church for allowing us to be here this evening.
On the move. How's everyone tonight? Good, good. My name is Mario, and I'm the events director here at the Unitarian Church of All Souls. One of the things that I tell people for one reason or another pretty much every day is that All Souls means exactly what it says, that everyone is welcome here. That everyone has a place here at All Souls. I've been very lucky in my life, and I consider it luck. It's through no skill of my own that two things I can say are always true. I've never had a problem finding good people, and good people have never had a problem finding me. And for that, I'm very, very lucky. I'm very happy tonight to look out on a personal note and see a lot of my friends and comrades who I've known for a lot of years, a lot of whom I haven't seen in a long time. Brother CARL DIX, for example, Brother Chef McDaniels, a lot of very good people here, Jonathan Brown, Steve Gibb. It's really nice for me. A lot of folks might know me from my background with the MOVE organization and the International Concerned Family and Friends. I've been here in New York for about the last 10 years, and it always makes me happy through my work in events, wherever they may be, to be able to work with people who I can vouch for as being strong, committed, revolutionary leaders who never need to be second-guessed for any reason. And once again, tonight that remains true. And again, I consider myself lucky. With that, I'd like to not take up too much of your time, but I would definitely like to say once again on behalf of myself, the staff, the clergy of All Souls, we extend a warm welcome and thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for the work that we're doing, that you all are doing 365 days a year in the name of justice and revolution. On the move.
Everybody to turn off their phones, especially because you're getting that Amber Alert, and it goes off whether you like it or not, okay? Okay, now I'm going to tell you about this brother that you all should know from the Revolutionary Communist Party.
Yeah.
And stop mass incarceration. And he is, come on y'all people, help me out.
Yeah.
Who is this brother?
CARL DIX. CARL DIX.
There you go.
Okay, I want to thank Shirley for that introduction, and you all are where you need to be tonight. We have to mobilize this huge march in New York City in October. We got to do this because black people continue to be targeted by racist killers in and out of uniform. And this must stop. Charleston, 9 people massacred in a church during a Bible study session by a killer who said, I have to do this because you are raping our women and taking over our country. White supremacist lies. We also have to do this because this whole system goes into motion to exonerate killer cops when they murder black and Latino people, and that must also stop. Now, when this massacre went down in Charleston, they started saying, oh, well, this was a crazy lone wolf. No, that wasn't the deal, sisters and brothers. The rage that drove him was nurtured by the white supremacy that has coursed through the veins of America since the very first Africans were dragged to these shores in slave chains. And this same white supremacy is what nurtures the climate in which police feel justified in exchanging racist messages on social media and then going out into the neighborhoods and brutalizing and murdering black and Latino people. Charleston concentrates America. And it concentrates the slow genocide targeting black and Latino people in this country. Now, we got to talk a little bit about forgiveness and coming together. And we got to talk about that because that's what they keep telling us that we should do in the face of these attacks. That talk is aimed at helping this system keep things under control. The governor of South Carolina explained what the deal was on that when she talked about why they were going to move to take down the Confederate flag. She said, and this is a quote, if nothing happened, boycotts and other ugliness could follow. Now, by other ugliness, she meant people might take their rage to the streets, which is ugly to the rulers of this country, but it's beautiful to those of us who want to see these racist attacks stop. See, in reconciling with these people falls into a ruling class trap that aims to smother our rage, to just push it on down so that it can't find expression. You cannot end oppression by forgiving your oppressors, by coming together with them. And let's talk a little bit about hate too, because they said, oh, don't hate. Don't respond to this with hate. Well, it depends on what you hate. You should hate oppression. You should hate these racist massacres.
Yes.
You should hate hearing about another young person gunned down, choked to death, beaten to death by the cops, who then get away with it.
Yes.
In fact, you should hate it so much that your rage around it moves you to act to stop it. And let's talk a little bit about healing. I ain't a doctor, but I do know that you cannot heal until you diagnose the disease and root it out. Otherwise, you're just covering a festering sore. The disease is white supremacy rooted in the capitalist imperialist system. And it is not time to come together with the folks who preside over that system and the white supremacist attacks that it brings down on black and Latino people. What it is time to do is to draw a huge dividing line in society over these outrages and to challenge people. Which side are you on? There ain't no room for neutrality here. Don't tell me you're standing in the middle when on one side you got people who are fighting against this injustice and on the other side you got the people who are bringing it down. You are either with the people who are standing up and saying no more to these attacks, or you're with the folks who are bringing them down, and then it's okay with you that this happens. So we have to cut out that middle ground and this feeling that people can have of being neutral. We got to turn society upside down over this. And this march in New York City is aimed at doing just that. Stopping police terror and pushing out which side are you on and challenging people to get on the right side. Now look, I know that people have marched around these outrages. I know people went to the streets around Charleston. They did vigils. Before that, people were in the streets around the wave of intensifying police murder. That's good, and it needs to continue. It's good that people have acted around the Confederate flag. And in fact, there's a national march called for Charleston on July 4th. We got to make sure that the call for October in New York City resonates at that march. But at the same time, we have to take things much higher. Because look, the cops are not holding back. The courts are not holding back. The prisons are not holding back. In Los Angeles and in Baltimore County in the days following the Charleston massacre, police shot unarmed black men in both of those cities. Police in Oklahoma recently shot a black man, and as they were beating him after they shot him, he said, "I can't breathe, I can't breathe." And they said to him, "F your breath," as he died in their custody. They are not backing up. We have to respond to these outrages, but we got to go beyond responding each time they do another outrage. We have to take our resistance higher. And a crucial part of doing that is getting on a mission to bring thousands and thousands of people into the streets of New York City, October 22nd through the 24th. Here is what we're talking about doing. 3 days of powerful, determined resistance. Powerful demonstrations in cities across the country on October 22nd, the National Day of Protest to stop police brutality, repression, and the criminalization of a generation. The many lives that have been stolen by killer cops and the system that backs them up will be featured in these outpourings. I know a lot of y'all have seen, well, there's one of them over there, these installations. Things like that have to be in the streets on October 22nd in cities across the country. Bringing to life, putting a human face on the devastation that killer cops have wreaked onto so many families across the country. That's going to be the first day. The second day, October 23rd, is going to be a major nonviolent direct action here in New York City that targets an institution that concentrates the slow genocide of police terror and mass incarceration targeting black and Latino people in this country. It's going to be involving well-known people, and it's going to, in its own right, highlight the resistance to this slow genocide, and it will point to what's going to happen the next day, October 24th. And on that day, thousands and thousands of people from around the country will descend on New York City and join up with thousands and thousands of people from New York City and take to the streets and say, "No more to police terror." Deliver that message to people around the country and put it before the eyes of the world. And through the sheer weight of our numbers, shutting this place down.
Yeah.
Okay, now it's going to take work to make this happen. We've got to spread the call for this march everywhere in New York City. We've got to reach everybody who's tired of police swaggering into their neighborhoods like occupying armies, beating people down, locking them up, and even killing them all. We've got to reach people who don't suffer this official brutality, but who have to have their eyes open to it and challenged to join the struggle to stop it. We got to mobilize people from different backgrounds, different walks of life. We got to mobilize black people. We got to mobilize Latinos, Asians, whites, Native people, everybody, and bring everybody together who sees these horrors for what they are, or who can be one between now and October to see them for what they are, to stand together and say that police terror must stop. We have to do this because the ruling class has targeted the protests that have come down, with mass arrests and threats to come down even harder. They've also tried to change the subject from talk about killer cops to talks about cops being heroes who are doing a dangerous job well. And they're trying to smother our righteous rage at racist attacks with talk about learning from Charleston to respond to these outrages with forgiveness and love. See, now they're doing all this because they don't want the ugly reality of what their system does to people here to be laid bare before the eyes of the world. Well, we want to bring that reality out into the open and challenge people to join us in acting to stop it. And look, there's a strong desire to see these horrors stopped. We saw it in Ferguson and around the country in response to Michael Brown's murder back in August. It surged after the grand juries let killer cops walk in Ferguson and on Staten Island. And then after months of attempts by the authorities to beat it down and drown it out through confusing the issues, it surged back into the streets on April 14th, here in New York City and across the country. And it roared in Baltimore after the murder of Freddie Gray. And around the country in response to that. And no, the young people in Baltimore did not get it wrong. They got it exactly right. They took their righteous anger to the streets and delivered a very clear message that this must stop. And through acting in the determined way that they did, they drew forth support and a positive response from other sections of people who didn't live the horrors that those of us who grew up in the ghettos in Baltimore, and I did grow up there, and I know how the cops roll there. Well, those people who didn't know that, when they saw the determined outrage flowing from those neighborhoods, felt they had to stand in support. That's what we need to see happen. We need to see more of that. Okay, now, how are we going to do that? We're going to move to tap into that desire to stop these horrors. We're going to do it by taking the call for October everywhere. In New York City everywhere and everywhere across the country. And look, we're going to have to raise large amounts of money to produce the materials that we need. To rent buses to bring people to New York City in October. To send speakers and organizers on tours across the country, spreading the call to come to New York City, to cities around the country and more. I mean, there's got to be a thing of, are you getting on the bus and going to New York in October? And then there's got to be a thing of a lot of people saying, hell yeah, are you coming with me? Yeah. We got to get that going. Yeah. And here in New York City, every part of it's got to be saturated with palm cards, posters, and stickers about October 24th. Whistles have got to get into the hands of young people who want to resist the cops when they slap into their neighborhood. You hear that whistle, you know it's time to act, to deal with it, because the cops are coming in and something foul is afoot. We got to mobilize students to take the call for October 24th everywhere this summer, and then to be ready to take it into the schools, colleges, and high schools when they open in the fall. We got to reach deep into the faith community, mobilizing congregations of churches, mosques, and synagogues. We got to reach into labor unions and get their members into the streets of New York City in the fall. And we have to be poised to go to hot spots where police murder and other horrors go down, and unite with the resistance that people mount there and point to the need to be powerfully in the streets of New York City saying, this must stop, and which side are you on? Now, I'm going to come back to how we're going to do that, because tonight we're going to begin to plan out how to do it. Now, doing this will deliver a message to millions across the country and around the world that there is a sizable section of people in this country determined to act to stop the way this system demonizes and criminalizes Black and Latino people, justifying the savage attacks that continue to be brought down on them. It will give those who are tired of suffering these attacks the sense that when they stand up and fight back, there are others who will join them in that fight. And it will open the eyes of many people to the ugly reality of these horrors and challenge them with a simple and basic question. Which side are you on?
Yeah.
Yep. A lot of people got to hear that. Now look, sisters and brothers, stopping these horrors won't be easy. The wanton murders of black and Latino people by police is the spearhead of a slow genocide of criminalization, demonization, warehousing in prison, and more, targeting black and Latino people. And the backdrop for this slow genocide is the very way that this capitalist imperialist system has stripped the inner cities across the country of legitimate ways for people to survive and raise families, by relocating their factories around the world to places where they can subject people to even more vicious exploitation than they could here. And that slow genocide results from this operation of the capitalist system. This system has no answers that are in the interest of the people to these horrors. And I will tell you, it's going to take revolution, nothing less, to stop these murders. And to stop all the other horrors this system brings down. The attacks on women.
Yeah.
The wars for empire. All of it. It's going to take revolution, nothing less. Because we should live in a world where these horrors are no more. That kind of world is possible. The party that I represent, the Revolutionary Communist Party, and its leader, Bob Avakian, are throwing our all into bringing about such a situation where such a revolution could be started that has a real chance of winning. We've put out a constitution that details what a revolutionary society would look like after this revolution has happened. And I encourage people to check that out. And we are getting ready for this by mobilizing people to fight the power and transform themselves and others for revolution.
Yes.
Now, I'm going to be putting my all from now through October in making this march happen here in New York City. I'm going to go everywhere I can, spreading the message that people need to be in New York City in October. And everybody who wants to see these horrors stop has got to be putting their energies into this too, because we have to end these horrors. If people don't fight back against this slow genocide, millions will end up being crushed by it.
Yeah.
Now, I'm building this fight as part of a strategy for revolution. A revolution to bring an end to all this and to get to a different world where we don't have to confront a situation like we face today. That's what I'm working on in October. Every single person who agrees that police terror has to stop needs to be working on the same thing, throwing their energy in, whatever they think it'll take to solve this problem, to end it once and for all. Let's come together to put the challenge before society. Which side are you on? To make what is being done to people by the police being seen as completely unacceptable to millions, and to bring them into demanding that this stop now. Doing this, pulling this march together, will put the folks who run this system between a rock and a hard place on this front. Facing them with either continuing to unleash their cops to brutalize and murder sections of people that they hate and fear, which can move more people to take to the streets in outrage, or backing down, trying to rein their cops in, which could give people a sense of what their defiant actions could accomplish and spur even more defiant resistance. Already our protests have started to tear things open in this country. And we don't need to be restrained. In fact, we want to tear it open even more. We want to reveal the ugly reality of the slow genocide being perpetrated and put up a big stop sign right in the face of this and say to people, which side are you on? We want people fighting on every front to be there. Like tomorrow night, there's going to be, at 6 o'clock in Union Square, there's going to be a rally against the attacks on abortion rights.
Yeah.
I'm going to be there because it's a just struggle, but I'm also going to be there taking to the folks there a message of be in the streets with us in October. because these are both horrors that need to be fought against, and we need to bring people together. I'm going to take the same message to people standing up and fighting around what's happening in the environment. People who are fighting against government spies, against the military empire. We need to bring everybody together in this. October will be a powerful leap ahead in its own right, but it can also serve as a springboard to go even farther, continuing to build resistance until a movement of millions of people saying no more to this horror have been brought into being, and these horrors can be beaten back and ultimately stopped. That's what we are going on a mission to do. We're beginning that mission today, sisters and brothers, and we will get more deeply into it as the evening goes on. Thank you.